Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 2019 STEAM Buying Guide webinar. Thank you so much for carving out some time to be here with us today. We're going to allow just a couple minutes as people are still signing on, but in the meantime, I'm Michelle and this is Tyler. So we'll introduce ourselves, tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do at PCS. So if you've been a part of some of our previous webinars, you know me, I'm Michelle Fisher. I'm our Director of STEM Development. I feel like I've always been involved in STEM education in some way, either in summer camps or tutoring, most recently as a classroom teacher, and also at the middle school where I worked with, we had a really amazing after-school program that I got to participate in too. So I feel like I had a chance to see all the opportunities that was able to bring to the students in our after-school program. And also really understand all of the challenges of trying to figure that out on my own for the first time. So I love now being at PCS and getting to create the kind of resources that I wish I had had when I was first getting started.
Great. I'm Tyler Downey. I'm the training coordinator here at PCS. I have a background in education that spans almost 20 years. I got my initial degree when I went to college in philosophy and decided about halfway through that I wanted to be an elementary school teacher, so I went on to get my master's in education. I taught in the classroom for 17 years and then spent 2 years as a K-8 librarian and computer teacher. Throughout that entire time, I ran after-school science clubs, coordinated our school science fair, ran summer camps, all with a STEM and engineering focus. So that's always been something of personal importance to me. And just having an opportunity now to shift focus from being in the classroom to helping to create quality products for teachers to use is something I've always aspired to. So my time here at PCS has been great, and I'm looking forward to participating in this webinar to show you some of our products.
Absolutely. We're really glad to have Tyler. One of the reasons I personally love PCS is just acknowledging that educators are experts. So we're really glad to have Tyler and a lot of the other educators that we'll mention in the webinar today, bringing their experience from all walks of education into our products. We're going to be sharing a lot of with you today. We have a ton to cover, a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Number one, we do have a pretty big group today, so everyone is muted by default, so ignore the hand raise function in there. Instead, we're going to be using the question system. So at the bottom of your control panel, you can see where it says questions, and if you touch the triangle, it opens up a box where you can submit if you have any tech issues or questions that Tyler and I don't address as we're going through. We'll be responding to those throughout the webinar. One other thing is on your screen, you should be seeing both slides and video. And if you're watching with us live, there's a slider in between the two so you can adjust based on what you want to focus on as we go through the webinar. So that said, we have a ton to cover. We'll get into it. Our goal today, as this is the 2019 STEAM Buying Guide webinar, is to cover products, old, new, all of the stuff that we're most excited about for 2019, and to try to provide some guidance on which products would be the best fit for you and your students. So to kick us off very briefly, this is a little bit about where we're coming from. Tyler and I shared our personal backgrounds, but PCS Edventures as a company started actually in 1988 as Pat's Computer School, thus PCS. He was a teacher here in Idaho, and we're still here at our headquarters in Boise, Idaho. And he was a teacher that wanted to do STEM education before that was a thing. So because he couldn't do it in his classroom, he started his own computer school where he could teach students in a hands-on way about technology that he could see was going to have this big influence in the world. So over time, it grew out of Pat's garage, this big network of learning centers. And then fast forward to today, the company is now focused on sharing those solutions with like-minded programs all across the world. So obviously what exactly that looks like has changed a lot since 1988, but I think some of the things that we're still really committed to today is focusing on the questions of how do we provide educators with really good quality resources to be confident in teaching STEM, and how do we engage students in hands-on STEM that's really motivating and helps them to find their passion. So what that looks like also really depends on what environment you're in, and we serve a lot of different environments.
Yeah, so we have products for the whole gamut of educators spanning from kindergarten through post-secondary. K-12 educators found in classrooms, in elective courses, after school programs, libraries and makerspaces, as well as a variety of youth groups that take place in non-school environments like the the FFA, the Boys and Girls Club, 4-H, Scouts, and that sort of thing. So we do cater to as many people as are interested in promoting STEM education. So if you don't see your organization's icon on the bottom of the screen here, that's not to say that we don't have a solution for you. And we love to hear from new people in new areas that are using our products in creative ways to help promote love of STEM.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that STEM education has spread into all these different areas. So as we go through today, we'll be trying to highlight which ones fit best, knowing that all those scenarios have their own opportunities and challenges. So to get us started, we want to hear a little bit from who all is here today. So we're going to be doing a couple of polls. So these will pop up on your screen. And the first question is just asking, what setting are you teaching in? Or if you're an administrator, you know, where are the teachers that you're working with teaching? So we'll have it open for a little bit, and you can submit as many options as are relevant for you. All right, we got about 50% of the votes in, so we'll keep it open for just a little bit longer. If you haven't voted, we'll be closing it in just a couple of seconds. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and close the poll, and then here are our results. So this is interesting. We have a really diverse group, a lot of after-school programs, a lot of elective teachers. There'll be a survey after the webinar. We'd love to hear what those other scenarios are, whether that's a summer camp, a community college doing outreach. It's really awesome to have such a diverse group here today. We have one more question, and this is about what grade levels are the students that you or your teachers are working with. All right, we've just about everybody, so if you don't have your answer submitted, we'll have it open for just a couple more seconds. All right, let's check this out. Okay, so pretty diverse spread here too. A lot of elementary, also some secondary, and some early education. Okay, this is great. We'll be trying to hit as many products as we can. We have well over 70 products that we offer, so there's no way we'll get to all of them today. But you do have a handout attached that you can also review.
So attached to your control panel there, you should have access to our 2019 STEAM buying guide that lists out all of the products that we have available. And they cover all aspects of STEAM. All of the products that we've designed are based on ties to curricular standards, but they go beyond regular classroom curriculum. So whether you are a classroom teacher or working in one of those programs outside of the classroom, the standards in all of our solutions are tied to those educational standards, as well as best practices, 21st century skills, and habits of mind.
So if there are questions about, you know, what exactly standards are covered by a product, what's the price, what grade levels, how many hours of curriculum, we won't be able to cover all of that today, but if you have those questions, a lot of that information is in the catalog. It's also fresh off the press, so if you're looking for updates and new things, that is in the handout section of the control panel that you can download as a PDF. So as we go through today, we're going to be trying to highlight kind of broad categories to help you steer where you may want to focus, and then sharing a couple of our favorites within each category. So we're going to start with Brick Lab. So all of you that responded that you're working with K through 6, this is a really great product, especially if teaching STEM is outside your traditional subject area or of the teachers that you're working with. So this is also 100% reusable. So if you're looking for one set of materials that can be shared by a bunch of different teachers to teach a bunch of different things, Brick Lab is a really good solution. We have a lot of different curriculum titles. What unites them is this idea that with the bricks, you can bring fun hands-on learning for all subjects. And it really is all subjects. So different curriculum series focus on different topics. So For those of you that said you're teaching in kind of a core classroom setting, you might want to steer towards the Brick Lab Core series. There's a different curriculum guide for each grade level, but all of those guides are going to hit on the topics of math, science, social studies, literacy, kind of those core subjects. For everyone else, I know we had a lot of elective teachers, people in non-traditional settings. You may want to look more at the Brick Lab Tech and STEM Foundation series. Those also have different books for different grade levels, but those topics are going to be more technology, communication, some things that often fall outside kind of the core content areas. But again, all of them use the same set of manipulatives, and we're also always coming out with new curriculum to support the bricks all the time. So one other set of curriculum you may want to look at that uses the same set of materials are our Brick Lab camps. So these are also hands-on, but if you are in an environment where you don't necessarily have copies or classroom supplies, unlike Brick Lab, this one comes with the bricks, the instructor guide, but also literally everything else that you need. So this would include the color copies, a book that you might have to read, pencils, papers. It's really STEAM in a box, ready to go for whoever is implementing that program with your students.
Our camps are a turnkey solution, so anybody ready to implement the camp has everything they need to get started in the boxes included.
And I think that's what makes these especially popular in out-of-school settings. So if you're giving this to someone who isn't necessarily a trained educator, if they're a volunteer coming in, really excited to do it, this should give them all the resources that they need to jump in, but also a really great set of materials that could be flexibly used by someone else that wants to take it and run with it in different directions. One other difference with the camps is they're based on grade bands. So in a lot of out-of-school settings, you have kind of mixed group of students. So there are some here for 1st through 3rd, 4th through 6th, and also a really awesome genetics curriculum for 6th through 8. So it can go all the way up into the middle school level. So we're going to do a deeper dive on one of our very favorites, which is a camp called Brick Lab Brain Builders. And so this one is a really popular one for the lower elementary, 1st through 3rd. And this curriculum was developed by a teacher named Christina Drillick that you can see there. And Christina actually attended a Brick Lab Institute that was a collaboration between PCS Edventures and Boise State University. And it brought teachers together, got in materials, got in professional development, and then established these learning communities where teachers were then also developing their own lessons and sharing those as they went back to their classroom. So Christina was one of those teachers that got really active and was using the bricks a lot with her students. And so eventually we ended up partnering with her to take some of her ideas that she had really come to love and use as her favorites in her classroom and package those, like Tyler said, to make that STEM in a box solution that you could use with your students in a classroom, or this is also really popular in out of school settings because it is such a kind of integrated approach to STEM or STEAM. So you can see all the different content areas that are here. It really is the idea that with bricks, you can teach any subject. So like all of our camps, there are 12 one-hour lessons. And each one of those is going to go into a different subject area. So some may be more communication or logic puzzles. Some may be a little more topical. Maybe you build a model of a flower and talk about structure and function. Maybe you build some symbols through US history and do some social studies connections. Some explore math concepts. I have one of our builds from Brain Builders here. This is our child build. And so the activity in this is you build the child, but the real activity is then to double the child, which touches on a lot of fun, standards for measurement and scale, and then has students also working together. So if you ever want to check out any of those lessons more in depth, all of our camps have 12 of them, and for each camp there is one curriculum sample that you can get from the website. So you can see it at the bottom of the slides here. If you go to adventures.com, you can see a full curriculum sample to see all the resources that are included in there.
So we also have other camps that are not primarily Brick Lab based that have a whole slew of self-contained materials. So again, these camps are 12 lessons, and we've highlighted a couple of STEAM picks focusing on some of the more artistic opportunities. Our 1 to 3, for example, Unleash Your Wild Side is a habitat themed camp that focuses on animals and their different habitat environments by doing a variety of art projects. Students will be painting, doing origami, performance, other types of art as they learn about habitats and the different kinds of animals that inhabit them. Our 4 to 6 camp traveling artist focuses on exploring different folk culture through their types of art, and students learn about the culture and the art that they've produced, and then work on projects that imitate and honor those art forms for the different cultures that they're learning about. And then our 4 to 8 camp, Claymation, this is one of our most popular camps where students engage in creating stop motion movies using clay models. And not only are they being able to be creative in learning about, in making stories and writing them, but they learn about the movie making process, as well as using technology to do that. So the Claymation is a really popular camp that leaves lots of opportunity as well for extensions. So there are the 12 one-hour lessons, but there's also opportunity built into almost all of our camps for extensive explorations beyond just those lessons. So we offer up suggestions at every step along the way about how that might be expanded upon.
And you'll see if you're browsing through the catalog, some of the camps don't show a refill kit, and that's because, like Tyler said, they may be 100% reusable. But for some, like Unleash Your Wild Side or Traveling Artists, where if you want to use it again, you've used up your craft supplies, taken them home, we also offer those. So if you want to run this camp with 100 students instead of 30, there are options to set that up as well. So we're going to dive into another one of our most popular camps. Tyler highlighted some of the most art-focused ones. Another camp that we've really been excited about moving into 2019 is our Ready, Set, Drone camp. I especially love this camp because I got to develop the curriculum for it, and it was really fun to me that in developing this one, I got to work with one of our local educators who is nationally recognized. She was in the last webinar we did that Tyler led. It's on building diverse makerspaces, and there's a ton of good content in there, so check that one out if you missed it before. But Sonia Galaviz was one of our panelists there. She teaches 5th grade here, and she has been involved from the beginning, piloting the curriculum with her students, providing a ton of awesome feedback, training a bunch of teachers over the summer with us, and has stayed involved as we've continued to refine it. So we've gotten a ton of great miles out of the Ready, Set, Drone curriculum over the last year, and we've gotten to see where it's become really popular. And so this one has crossed over into a lot of different areas. So we've seen a lot of camps, a lot of after-school programs, but also a lot of elementary classroom teachers, whether it's in their core classes or maybe in a STEM classroom, and also some middle school teachers that maybe had the chance to do an elective class, wanted to introduce drones, but also were brand new, didn't want to spend a ton of time studying up on rules, regs, licensure, something that you could take out of the box and that you could fly indoors. So this is another one that you could do in your gymnasium, in your hallway, in your classroom. So for anyone that wants something that is brand new to drones, this is a really good entry point. If you are one of those people that is maybe in the 10th to 12th grade, we will be talking more later on about our other drone product, Discover Drones. So hang on for that one. If you're in the middle school, you're kind of in this cool spot that you could do either. Ready, Set, Drone is great if you want kind of a shorter intro. It's 12 one-hour lessons plus extensions. The content covers nuts and bolts, so you do a lot of hands-on flying of the drones and learning how they work. You take photos, you take videos. The curriculum also goes into the science behind it. The science is at a 4th to 5th grade level, so if you're looking for something that works well for those upper elementary school students, this one really targets that. It also has a lot of extensions and great practice of science and engineering practices that would totally translate up into the middle school level if your focus isn't so much on the science, but incorporating that into a bigger exploration of what is this technology, what can we do with it. So that would be the third part. It also covers, how are drones being used in the real world and making this kind of a career awareness for students of what are all these different areas of STEAM where they might incorporate drones. It also comes, like all of our camps, with all the materials you need. So you can see kind of a short list here. The other thing that we're excited to announce is we've been working really hard on the Ready, Set, Drone curriculum. So there should be some updates coming soon in 2019. So there's a lot of good stuff that we've learned over the first year that we're excited to share with this next group of people coming in to implement. One of those is that the drones that are available now have really come a long ways. So we're really excited to now be using the Tello drone. This one is really stable and really easy to fly. It's held up well to crash testing, and it also has a really nice high resolution camera. So if you're looking to do more of the creative media side of drones, this is a really great introduction. That camera also sends live video feed to your transmitter. So if you're wanting to explore first-person view and more racing style piloting, this provides that introduction with a drone that's much easier to fly than a racing style drone would be. The one other thing that's really cool about the Tellos is, within that 12-hour curriculum, learning to fly, learning to use the camera, exploring the science, if you get to the end of that curriculum and you're wondering, okay, what do I do next with my drones? These drones are also programmable, both in Scratch, a drag and drop software called Drone Blocks, or with Python if you're working with older students. So they can definitely be repurposed into different subject areas. The last thing that we're also really excited to share, the whole curriculum is going to include a lot more resources. So you can see on the computer here, there's a whole video series that you get access to as part of your Ready, Set, Drone curriculum. So again, you don't have to be the expert. As you're going through the course, that video series will introduce all of the drone content. What are the parts? What are the rules and regs? What's the safety? In a really fun way, really targeted for upper elementary. Those quizzes are also included. So you have some assessment resources. And then if you are in some sort of classroom setting, there's a ton of included resources for posters, organizers, science notebooks. If you're in a setting where it's more informal, you have an awesome set of videos, drones, and activities that you can also implement. So this one is not available yet. If you want to get in a pre-order, talk to one of our STEAM program specialists. Otherwise, we'll be continuing to share updates as things become available. So this has kind of been my project for the last couple of weeks. Tyler has also been hard at work and has some really cool stuff to share.
So I've been working on our Cubelets Builders camp. If you are not familiar with Cubelets, Cubelets are robotic building blocks. Here is a sample of a few of the blocks. And basically, these are blocks that when put together in a variety of orders, you can make almost an endless number of robots. There are 3 types of blocks in the Cubelets set: sense blocks that take in input, think blocks that translate that input into output, and then the act blocks that that act on that and put the output out. So the thing that I've really enjoyed about, and I think it's special about the Bot Builders Camp, is that while it's 12 lessons and every lesson is connected to NGSS standards, one of the main focuses throughout the camp is on developing those 21st century skills and good habits of mind. So the basis of the camp is on the iterative process. And so students, as they go through the camp, they develop prototypes, they work together to test those prototypes, and then they refine the prototypes with new iterations until they get a bot that does what they expect and what they want. So this camp is especially, I think, well suited for places where students have a teacher handy, but not necessarily a classroom-driven situation, although it's easily adaptable to that. Like all of our products, with a little bit of finagling by the person in charge, they can be from heavily teacher-guided to mostly student-guided. So again, in the camps here, all of the materials needed for the camp are included. So in addition to the blocks, you get a teacher's guide that gives background information, the vocabulary that's related to each day's lessons, and then books, photographs, things that match up with the opening activity, as well as suggestions for teaching strategies for those users that maybe aren't teachers themselves, so ones that are in the after school programs or volunteers that are leading that. So it's a diverse set of lessons that introduce some pretty sophisticated science and engineering principles in an age-appropriate way for kids in grades 2 through 3.
And I really love what Tyler did, especially in structuring that. I mean, figure out what do you do with Cubelets for an hour with consider that young is not the easiest thing. We all know that Cubelets are really fun and it's kind of a magnet for kids and adults. But one of the questions we get a lot is, okay, I have all these Cubelets, but what do I do with them? So I love all the different activities you worked in to add some structure and to make it about, you're making robots, but you're also learning to be an engineer or to be creative, like you said, all those 21st century skills. So if you're in first through third, this curriculum is available. If you're not, we still have a lot of Cubelet packages. And as we've gotten into Cubelets, they have some really cool applications where you could take the same set of materials and use them with your upper elementary, middle school, maybe even high school students.
Yeah, Cubelets are programmable via a Bluetooth application where you can change the internal commands of each block. So, if you were in a situation where you're able to share this resource with other teachers or educators in higher grade levels, this is one of those resources similar to our brick labs that can be used in multiple situations of complexity from K really all the way up through 12 if you have kids that are really interested in learning about programming. In this case, it's either a Blockly-based programming language for that upper elementary and middle school, and for your high school students, it gets into programming with Flash.
So they definitely can expand with your students. If you're familiar with Cubelets too, but haven't checked them out recently, they've also been adding a bunch more features, like Tyler said, and upgrading. So they're always coming out with some new things. So it may be worth a second look if it's something you haven't looked at in the last couple of years. So far we've talked a lot about our products for kind of a whole group setting. So whether that's a summer camp or in a classroom or any kind of other non-traditional environment, Brick Lab and camps are all really designed where there's some sort of instructor who's leading hands-on activities, facilitating discussions, and with a group of students, whether it's a small group or a big group. You have supplies for up to 30. Smaller groups are usually never a problem. But this next set of products are for a different sort of environment. So everything, we call this our Discover series, are kind of designed around the idea that a kid or a small group of students could complete these together. So if you have an instructor there who's able to facilitate, you're kind of in more of a coaching role, helping out, helping students really guide and lead their own learning. All of these products kind of grew out of the sort of programs that we did in our PCS Edventures labs. They still live on today as these makerspace sort of programs where kids come, attend classes, work on their personal projects. If you're here with us in the Boise area, they live on as Geeko Labs and are doing some really cool things and are worth checking out. But for everyone else, the idea behind the Discover products was to take the activities that were really successful with our students there, package them into kind of individual kits that you could either have on their own or bundle together to kind of start making your own makerspace.
Good. So yeah, we have like Michelle said, a variety of the Discover products. Two of our most popular are our Discover STEM kits. We have one for grades 3 and 4 and one for grades 5 and 6. And these kits are made up of 4 different collections of lessons that try to target different areas of STEM education. So the DSTEM kits are probably best suited to a classroom environment where you have a makerspace of some sort, because they really aren't primarily intended to be a teacher-driven activity. They're meant as exploratory products where students can take their time getting their hands on some high-quality tools while learning STEM principles and getting to practice some of those STEM related skills and minimal involvement from the teacher. But again, these resources are ones that a teacher could easily use to integrate into their daily lessons as well. I think one of the most valuable things about the Discovery STEM kits are that students really get a chance to put their hands on, for an extended period of time, some really interesting tools that they might not always. I know as a teacher, one of the things that one of the challenges I always ran into was having these really excellent resources in the classroom and students wanting to experience them, but not really having the time during my regularly structured lessons, whether it was science or math or whatnot. So, these are meant to be out where students can come to them at their own time and at their own pace.
We've also seen, for the same reason, these are really popular in library type environments as makerspaces move into libraries more. And it's been really cool to see a lot of places like a YMCA or a Boys and Girls Club are also starting their own makerspaces. And so it would work in a classroom, but really makerspaces are expanding to be almost anywhere. So the ones that Tyler talked about are pretty specific to 3rd through 4th, but we have a couple different configurations for different grade levels.
Yeah, so in the 3-4 here, you can see that one of the kits is a brick lab. We have our video lab where students use tablets to make videos and go through the video making process. A Cubelets lab that is kind of a step further than the bot builder, where students get to dive in a little bit deeper into the Cubelets at their own pace. And then new for this year is the Digits in Design, which is the math kit that's new in 2019. And we spent a lot of time developing this one. And so taking a look at Discover Digits in Design, there are 12 lessons that focus on using a variety of tools that deepen their math skills and understanding. One of the things I worked pretty heavily on this and worked on making many of these activities gamified, so students are getting a good mix of practicing and building, math competency and calculation skills, but then having the opportunity to take those skills into a gamified situation where they work either with or against other students in a whole variety of games. So they get to interact with 2 different kinds of abacus. There are 4 activities that use the polyhedral gamers dice, the 4-sided to 20-sided dice. We developed a positive and negative number math war card game that is unique to PCS, and it's an extensive product with lots of fun, engaging manipulatives that really sit on a foundation of the math skills that are hitting all the standards for grades 3 and 4.
I love too, because they are gamified. These are all activities that you don't just do once and then you're done. Exactly. So they're games that the more you play, the more math you'll learn. So for this one, I always think of in the after school program that I worked in, we had a homework help club, and often kids finish their homework and then what do they do? So something like this would have been an awesome resource to have anytime you have some time and you want to do something valuable but also fun with it. All of these I feel like are set up to be a really easy grab it, either kids on their own or some instructors setting it up to really quickly get into something that's really fun.
And then looking at our Discover STEM 5-6 kit, one of the nice things about the 4 different kits here is that they are all based on Fisher Technics parts, which are sophisticated construction materials. So students in the roller coaster physics explore physics through building a variety of roller coaster models. The robotics and programming, again, they build robots using Fisher Technic parts, and the Discover Engineering, and then the renewable energy. So these kits all have separate STEM focuses, but since they have those Fisher Technic parts in common, there is lots of room for students to kind of expand out on their own after they've completed the activities in these kits by combining different Fisher Technics parts and guides and suggestions into creative new projects.
And with that open-endedness, we've seen a lot of people take this card, even though it was targeted for 5th through 6th, and use it definitely higher into their middle school students, knowing that the possibilities become pretty open-ended, especially once you have those kind of foundational skills from the curriculum. So these are a couple of our most popular. We've talked for elementary and middle. For everyone who's here from the high school, this would be something for you. This is in the Discover series, but Discover drones would be more hands-on for the instructor than the products that Tyler just outlined. So this is a really in-depth dive to drone technology. We've seen it used a ton by high school career and technical ed teachers, high school teachers with STEM electives, also some middle school teachers and after school programs at both middle and high school level that wanted to start these drone clubs or drone racing clubs. If you're at the middle school level, you're in kind of a cool spot. You could use Ready, Set, Drone, you could use Discover drones. Discover drones is really good if you want to do an in-depth dive. So as an instructor, if you're willing to invest, especially if this is the beginning of maybe a career prep program for your students to get them started and then launched into more industry-specific programs. We've seen there are a lot of programs out there that work on commercial licensure, preparing students for really specific drone industries. Ours is maybe one step before that to give students a chance to explore drones. What do they do? have some fun flying them, and kind of decide what areas of STEAM they may want to explore more deeply. So like all of our kits, I mean, you get your drones, your radios, your batteries. It also comes with a really rich set of curriculum resources. So while Ready, Set, Drone has 12 one-hour lessons, Discover Drones is 4 units of curriculum where you would want 30 plus hours with a heavy emphasis on the plus. And the plus being the more time students have to go fly, the more they'll be able to refine those flight skills. So the process as you're going through, some of it like Ready, Set, Drone will be nuts and bolts, right? You're gonna build your drone from a set of parts. We have one here. This is our RubyQ drone that was designed and engineered by our in-house team of engineers here at Thrust UAV. And they specifically designed it that it could be built from the ground up. And students go through and configure it, and then of course learn to fly. One of the cool things is it has a lot of built-in safety features. It is an FPV style drone, so you can see in the picture here, it's designed to be flown with goggles on, so you're getting that live video feed from the drone. Most racing drones do not have a lot of safety features built in, so this can also serve as your driver's ed drone. So whether you're using this to transition into racing or as an exploration of drones before you go into other kind of more industry specific applications, you have kind of those safety features so that you can guide students through their first initial flights.
One of the nice things I think too about the way our curriculum is set up is integrated from the beginning is the use of a flight simulator. So students get into that pretty much right away and begin practicing their flying skills before they ever take the live drone out, so that you don't wind up having a student lift a drone up off the ground and immediately crash their drone into the wall. There's lots of opportunity for practice. The flight simulator program can be set to the specifications of RubyQ so that it really mirrors the control of the RubyQ in a way that makes it easy to translate to real life flight when the time comes.
And like Tyler said, there really are a bunch of curriculum resources in this. So you're on the flight simulator. If you have students that are gamers, it'll come to them very quickly. Part of the process as they're going through too is also learning, like in Ready, Set, Drone, the science behind the drones. In Discover Drones, it's going to be at a high school level. So it'll be a much more in-depth. There is also a video series, but again, designed more for a high school audience. So you have not only the flight simulator, the drones, the digital curriculum, the print curriculum resources. So this is if you're looking to do an in-depth, long-term, even semester-long exploration of drones, this would be the package you'd want to steer towards. So we have talked about a lot of our different products as we go through. For RubyQ specifically, if you're looking to see who is doing Discover Drones near you, you can visit the website rubyq.adventures.com and see who near you might be doing this. One of the cool things we've seen is locally, a lot of people have started organizing competitions. Maybe it's a STEM problem solving challenge or more of a racing. Here in Idaho, our Technology Student Association has been really active, so you may be able to find some other educators near you that would be willing to come together and do something that would involve multiple schools. We have not touched on all of the products today, so if you're listening later on or if you have questions about a product we didn't get to, we want to be sure that you can get in touch with one of our STEAM program specialists. All of these guys have years of experience working with schools, some really strong education backgrounds themselves. Ben, in fact, was a student in the PCS Edventures lab back in the day, which is really cool. So if you want to get in touch with any of them, send an email and they can definitely help you customize solutions for your program, help identify funding, sometimes even work with grant applications, or if you're not listening live, even answer questions that you may have wondered as we were going through today.
Exactly. So I think as you said, we barely touched on the 70 products that we had. We had to pick a few that we thought were interesting that hit the multiple areas of the way that we have things organized for, like, classroom teachers, after school, that sort of thing. So use the product catalog, and when you find something that you'd like more information on, your STEAM program specialists can take you on a personal tour of that product.
That's a great way to say it, yes. So we are going to do a Q&A first, but stick around because there will be a giveaway at the end. But if you have any questions that haven't been answered as we go through, Tyler and I will try to answer as many as we can.
So we do have somebody working behind the scene of the camera here that is going to be taking the questions. So he'll be reading us the questions. If you hear a voice in the background, and we may repeat them to make it easier for the audience to hear. So
one of the questions we got is, would Discover drones be appropriate for kids in grades 6 to 9?
We have seen people use it at the middle school level, and you can respond to this too, Tyler,
Sure.
But my 2 cents would be it really comes down to the instructor and how much time they want to invest starting their drone program.
yeah, exactly. I think the most common way that we see it rolled out in middle school and that 6 to 9 level is usually as an elective course. And as Michelle said, it all depends on teacher prep. It takes a good solid minimum of probably 20 hours of devoted teacher time to really get competent as a pilot yourself if you don't have, if you're starting out without any experience. So it can be done, but this is not one of those products that, like some of our others, you can just open up the box and go from the get. It takes a little bit of prep, particularly if you are looking to implement with that middle school age. That said, we have seen some amazing middle school students, who have become incredibly competent pilots, who have, matured not just, within this class, but kind of in their overall approach towards education by being able to interact with something that was so engaging and meaningful for them. So it's definitely a product that can be used with 6 through 9, but it's going to require a little bit more focus, I think, and a little bit more engagement from the teacher than maybe some of our other products.
And to add to that too, if you are a middle school teacher who's trying to decide between Ready, Set, Drone, Discover drones, one thing to keep in mind is that Discover drones is a product that is designed to be flown outside. So you're typically going to have 1 drone in the air at the time. So that said, if you're running, a small group after school, Discover drones is a really good choice. If you have 30 students and nobody's supporting you during the day, Ready, Set, Drone can be flown indoors. You can have many students flying at once. So those would be a couple things to weigh as you're figuring out which one you want to start with.
Can I purchase the Ruby Q without the flight simulator?
You can talk to one of your STEAM program specialists. They are really good at putting together custom drone solutions. So if you want something in particular like that, reach out to these guys and they would love to help you put that together.
And do you have a favorite or most recommended product from each of the different product lines?
Oh gosh.
So hard.
Well, aside from the ones that we hit on already, like personal favorites, it is hard to narrow it down.
I know. What's your favorite camp, Tyler?
My favorite camp. Well, I mean, honestly, the favorite one I have right now is the one I'm working on, which is the bot builder. Because I've learned so much about the Cubelets. Other than that, Pirate Camp is an enormous amount of fun, super engaging for those kids in grades 1 through 3. Yeah, so I would say outside of my personal ones I'm developing, Pirate Camp is probably it.
Pirate Camp. I also really love oceanic exploration. There's a really fun simulation of ecosystems in there that I'm still just dying to run with a group of kids. So if you're looking for something in the life sciences, which aren't always as well represented in STEAM, that's another really fun one. Is that in all the categories?
Yes, let's see. So that's camps,
favorites.
Brick Lab, the Brick Lab zoology.
Oh, yeah.
Is super cool. It has a set of 12 builds that focuses on different animals, and the brick builds for them are super fun and engaging. And if you are into animals and you have students that are into animals, it's a really fun way to engage them on a level where they aren't just seeing pictures, they're actually constructing some things as they're learning about the different animals in camp.
Yeah, I love the whole DSTEM 3-4 that module is a part of. I love Tyler's new digital design is so good. And those DSTEMs are just such a nice starter if you kind of want to feel out, see what your students are interested in. Each of those is such a nice, like, small contained version of some of the bigger products. Okay.
All right.
Thank you, guys. A few more details on the giveaway.
Okay, so yeah, if you stuck with us, if you stick around for just a couple of more minutes, we have a brief survey that we'd like you to take. The surveys help us develop later webinars to make sure we're doing the best that we can to provide our viewers with what they need. So after you fill out the survey, you will be entered into a random drawing for a Free Connects educational product. The products that are available are the ones that are kind of surrounding the pictures here, and 2 random winners will be selected. So please take the time to fill the survey out. It's just a few questions, shouldn't take much of your time at all. And we appreciate everybody's participation.
Yeah, it was great to have so many different folks here. Thanks for taking time out of your day to be with us, and we hope to hear more from you soon.